back. Investigative Culture. It's your boy Raylo. And we got another video for you, you know what I'm saying? Look, you can call me a conspiracy theorist, but one of the things that I've realized is that everything, all lies, you know what I'm saying, get unraveled after a certain period of time. I don't believe we went to the moon. I don't believe in Artemis. I feel like how we're getting to up in the air is really, really, really primitive, and we really haven't figured out how to actually fly. Like, we figured out some type of ways, but it isn't the most efficient, and it isn't efficient enough to get to space. You know what I'm saying? I came across this video. One of the top astrophysicists in, well, I ain't gonna say astrophysicists, the top physicists in the country, probably even in the world. S. James, what is it? S. James Gates. You know what I'm saying? So Sylvester James Gates. You feel me? Let's hear what he has to say. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna hear from the people who actually do the science. And I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. He was kind of keeping it real.
I saw the other day that, Elon Musk has been historically obsessed and has made it clear that his mission is to populate Mars, get human beings to Mars.
Yes.
And I think just a couple weeks ago he posted something saying, no longer is this my goal.
Yes.
Now we have to focus on the moon.
Yes.
Are you surprised at this?
No. Several years ago, I was on a panel at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and the question before the panel was, "Are we going to Mars?" And the other panelists included Dr. Shirley Jackson, who was the president of RPI at the time. There's an organization called Space.org, and the CEO of that organization, a retired admiral, as I recall, was on the panel. And then Ellen Ochoa, who is a retired astronaut, was on the panel. And so there was this hour-long discussion about going to Mars, and everyone else, were basically supporting Elon's claim.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the only one saying, no, we're not going to do that. And there are lots of really good reasons to understand why that was never going to be possible.
Really?
Yeah, well, by never, I mean, I would not be surprised if we get there by, say, 2090. But we're not going to get there in the short term. And the reasons are a couple. One of the reasons that it was always impossible to adhere to the time scale that was being hyped is because if you look at the exposure, so we live here in the Earth, and the Earth I like to say it is a hospitable home. It creates the conditions for us to live in. It has an atmosphere we need to breathe, obviously,
right.
But it also has a magnetic atmosphere around it, and this magnetic atmosphere shields us from radiation. When you get in a rocket ship and plan to go to Mars, you go outside of that shield, and therefore the amount of radiation that humans will be exposed in any reasonable length of technology to get to Mars likely suggests that without special shielding, horrible mutations are going to occur, and that's likely to be diseases.
Van Allen talked about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that was reason number one to know that Elon was talking out of his hat. Reason number two was there are lots of technical issues. Well, so if you look deeply into my biography, you'll find out I applied to be an astronaut around 1980 or so. Because I had a friend who was an astronaut, the black astronaut Ronald McNair, who died in the Challenger explosion.
No way.
Wow. So there's a guy who was going to be an astronaut telling you that, hey, us leaving the planet in general doesn't really make a lot of sense, especially, of course it's a ambitious goal. I still remember Elon Musk like, yeah, my goal is to die on Mars. Please. I always thought that was stupid. Like, I don't even believe that we have, I don't believe that we have drones on Mars. I don't. I just don't. Like, I'm not believing what these people are telling me. You know what I'm saying? Like I've experienced too many lies in my life to where I can tell which ones is lies. And just like how he said he was the one person in the room not believing the hype, I don't believe the hype. You know what I'm saying? I believe that once we'll eventually get there, but I don't believe the hype, man. You can't make me believe the hype. And his story is making me understand that I shouldn't believe the hype. And I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I'm not truly believing everything this guy's saying because at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he really was telling us the truth, they'll silence him. You can't tell us like, and I kind of seen clips of this. I'm just gonna tell you right now, he does an excellent job of maintaining the lie. You know what I'm saying? Because you know he knows the truth.
He was a physicist. He and I had been friends since from '69 to '85 when he died. So when I was going to Caltech to work with Feynman and Gelman, he had convinced me to apply to NASA because they were accepting new applications for astronauts, and I applied. And I got pretty far along in the process, and so I got a chance to talk to some of the engineers who had actually built the Apollo Saturn V that got us to the moon. Mm-hmm. And they made this statement which utterly astounded me at the time. So this is like 1980. The moon landings were, the first one was in '69. Mm-hmm. They said, we can't do that now. Right. That we cannot produce a rocket that would get us to the moon right now. This is like...
This is what year again?
1980.
80.
Yeah. And the question about why was rather interesting.
11 years later.
Yeah, right. 11 years later. And so...
Well, they had done it, what, in 73 too?
So it went from 69 was the first moon landing, and this last one was from like 73, 75, something like that.
Yeah,
so in 15 years, what happened? Well, what happened is something that people often don't understand about complex systems and complex engineering. When you build a complex system, it is almost always the case that it does not work the way you thought it would when you designed it on paper. And the way that you get it to work is by having engineers of extraordinarily deep understanding of the mechanisms involved, and they figure out how to make it work. That generation had retired. Mm. And that's why we couldn't do it.
What was so special?
I don't believe it. I don't care. No. Them niggas was lying. Excuse my language. They was lying. I'm telling you, they was just good at holding up a lie. At the end of the day, it don't make, like, you not about to make me, like, I can understand, like, okay, like the pyramids. Nobody knows how they made the pyramids. It wasn't passed down to them. 11 years is not centuries. Them people could have told them how to make it. It's because they didn't do it. That's why. It's like, it's that simple, bro. It's that simple. And at the end of the day, they're about to make a nice little analogy, like the rocket that they made was different compared to they could have made the rocket again, bro. They could have made the rocket again. I'm not believing this lie.
About that generation.
That they did it.
Yeah.
The point was, it's a usual thing, you know. I don't know if you work out, but, you know, one of the things that we know about human bodies, if you don't exercise, you lose muscle.
Right.
It's the same kind of a process.
Sure.
No, it ain't. You lose muscle, but you can gain it back again, unless you got way too old. If you work out in your 40s and you start working out again in your 60s, you can still gain that joint back. Man, look, that's what I'm saying. He gonna try to uphold the lie. He can't fully tell us the truth, but he know the truth.
Is it one of the things that was described to me is one of the reasons that we haven't gone back is because the Saturn V was an expendable rocket, and now we're spending all of our money on reusable rockets.
Right.
So to get a reusable rocket that far is exponentially more difficult.
It is far more difficult. And that's one of the things that has been a real triumph of SpaceX as we've watched them have rockets that you send up and then they come back down and land. When I was a kid in El Paso, there was a science fiction show called Rocky Jones. And they used to do that then. Rockets would go up and they would come back down.
Yeah.
So I've lived long enough to see this go from a television science fiction show to reality.
Do you think? I mean, I'm sure you've had to think about this, but I'm curious to hear your answer. Will we ever have a more advanced way of traveling through space other than rockets? Because rockets are essentially guns, right?
That's right.
You're shooting a gun.
Basically guns. That's correct. That's correct.
Like,
Well,
what would it take?
So Arthur C. Clarke, who was a very famous science fiction writer in the 50s and 60s. In fact, he's the author of the book 2001 that became a movie and what have you.
Yeah, Stanley Kubrick.
Right, Kubrick made the movie. Arthur C. Clarke said that something along the lines of predicting the future is a very hazardous undertaking. So when you ask me ever, right, I don't know what time constant you're attaching to ever. My suspicion is that yes, we will get something other than rockets. Now, when I say something other, I mean even you can build rockets that are basically they are powered by nuclear explosions. This is something that's been under discussion since the 50s. So we know that in the realm of possibility. But again, that's shooting the gun as you described.
Still, yeah.
So what do you get to? What can I imagine would be technology beyond that? And the only thing that I can think about is two things: something that's electromagnetic, where instead of shooting the guns, magnets repel each other.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine that if we had a deeper understanding of how magnets work, we might be able to take advantage of the fact that the sun produces a magnetic field, and then you would have a rocket that would interact with that magnetic field to be propelled.
Interesting.
So if you ask it,
And that's where I come up with my thought process on, yes, the way we get into the sky is very, very primitive. It is not the natural way of how you're supposed to fly. You know what I'm saying? Especially, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say it was God given or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? God will give us a way to naturally fly. You know, humans aren't made to fly. You know what I'm saying? But we are made to invent, you know what I'm saying, and create things. And one day we'll create a more sustainable and a more efficient way to fly. Right now, the way we flying is not efficient. You know what I'm saying? I think one of the things that my homies always laugh at me about is like during the pandemic, you remember how clear the sky was? I remember I made a joke. I was like, oh yeah, the world stopped smoking. And everybody laughed at me, but it was the truth. Like, we stopped having jets in the sky, leaving pollution in the air. We stopped, like, we wasn't driving that much. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, like, it's not efficient. And one of the things that I realized is that, yes, gravity, they're just now letting us know that gravity is a wave. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a radio wave. It's just like a wave that you see on the ocean. You feel me? Like, if you learn how to ride the wave, you know what I'm saying? Like a boat will ride the wave, then you will actually go ahead and you'll actually fly the way you're supposed to fly.
crazy person like me about what comes next, this is what comes out.
That's really interesting. Using magnets to propel. And that is using, obviously, the model of of physics and the universe as we understand it now.
We have to know that the sun produces a magnetic field,
right,
so that we can sort of become surfers on it.
Right.
Exactly.
Do you think it's possible that there's any sort of fundamental science that could be being held by private aerospace organizations that has been held from the public academics?
I find that extraordinarily unlikely because one thing about scientists is collectively we like to brag when we do stuff. And I think if someone stumbled on something like that, there'd be no way in the world that any organization could stop them from talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been one of the puzzling questions for me over the last 10 years, just seeing...
well, maybe part of this thing they're talking about, this slowdown in innovation.
The slowdown, yeah. If you enjoy watching our show on Spotify or YouTube and you want to be more involved, I encourage you to please come check out our Patreon community. Not only does our Patreon community get every episode you see on YouTube early, fully uncensored, and ad-free, but we're also doing Patreon exclusive episodes as well as live Q&As, and you can get your personal questions answered by our guests every single week. For me, being able to collaborate and communicate back and forth with our Patreon community every week has been huge, and this is my way of saying thank you for the cost of a cup of coffee a month. Now back to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna let the homie promote on my channel. I don't care. I'm over here reacting to this content, so why not let him promote? But yeah, like I said, man, you heard from the physicist, and I'm here to let you, like, we gonna get through the BS. You know what I'm saying? He can't tell you the truth. He can't tell you the truth, bro. You know what I'm saying? But he gonna give you the little inklings of the truth, which will help you realize, like, oh, he ain't telling us the truth. You know what I'm saying? But you know, he's very, very interesting, man. Get into more of S. James Gates. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna have the link to this full podcast on my website, investinyourculture.com. Go to investinyourculture.com. Check out some of my merch. You know what I'm saying? Support me during this journey. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? We there. Invest in your culture, man. Because somebody will. Because culture pays.